It's not lit. I don't like smoking in the studio. I'm going to do this video and then I'm going to go outside and smoke the cigar. See, when I was 18, I had this whole plan of how my life was going to be. I had this whole plan where I was going to go to the right university. I was going to study economics and I was going to work at an investment bank. After 3-4 years, I was going to go to the United States to study, get an MBA. Then work either in a US investment bank or a European investment bank. You know, spend a few years there. Yeah. By the time I was 32, I would move back home, get married, you know, and start a family and position myself in the banking area, in the banking establishment. That was my plan when I was 18. It was this very, very clear path to what I thought was success. You know, I'm gonna follow this road, this very narrow path. And it was, in a very real sense, a dangerous path because, you know, the possibility of failure was fairly high. But it was not impossible. This whole program was very achievable. And I had this plan. At the time, I didn't realize that the plan really wasn't mine, in the sense that it wasn't based on my actual strengths and weaknesses as an individual. A lot of it was sort of like by almost like a process of osmosis. I'd absorbed from the environment around me of what I ought to aspire to, of what would be like the good life. That this life that I planned for myself would be the good life. Well, you know, there's that saying, you know, man plans and God laughs. What happened was that first year in university, I flunked out the first semester because I was a fairly mixed up kid at that time. I was too young. I'd skipped a grade and I'd graduated really. I turned 18 my first year of university. And I was just too immature. On top of that, my parents were splitting up, and that was fairly traumatic. And on top of that, I'd not discovered girls, but I'd gotten good at getting girls. And so I was like trying out this newfound ability that I suddenly had of being able to get the girls that I wanted, you know, because I discovered that if I was funny, I could get the girls, and I was getting them. And so I was devoting more time to getting girls than to getting good grades. And so the inevitable happened. I got kicked out. And there started a period of about 4 years of me being basically, well, I was about to say I was basically a bum, but that's not accurate. I bummed around, I traveled around, I hitchhiked through South America, but I also, you know, established myself. I worked as an English teacher. I did different things, interesting things. Things I never would have done had I, you know, stuck to the plan and gone to university. Eventually, I decided that I wanted to go to university in the United States. I applied to Ivy League schools. I got in, and once I was in university, I realized, in college in the States, I realized it was a waste of my time. I could have learned everything that I was taught there on my own, but that's for a different conversation. My point is, see, I had a plan, and it was a very narrow plan, and it got shattered. And out of the pieces of the shattered dream, as it were, I created a new dream. Now, I'm going to tell you a few things about me. Some of them are going to sound like brags, but they're not brags. There's a point to them. I'm 49. When I was 18, that was 31 years ago. Well, in that 31-year span of time, I have been broke. I mean, I'm talking flat broke 3 times. That I was so broke I did not have money for food. That is how broke I was. Not like, broke like, oh, I only have $100,000 in the bank. No, no, no. Broke with nothing. I did not have money for food 3 times. And the last time was actually in my 30s, if you can believe it. I can't believe it. When I was, 27, 28, I went through a period of about 1.5 years where I did not get a single girl. I was an involuntary celibate for 1.5 years. I just could not get a girl. I could not get arrested, by a female cop at least. I was just a complete sexual failure for 1.5 years in my late 20s. And then a few years later, I was living in New York, and there was this one week, 7 consecutive days, where I slept with 7 different models, including one who's actually famous. You'd know her if I mentioned her name. She's not big now. She used to be big in the late 90s, early 2000s. Yes, she was in the SI swimsuit edition. But the other 6 were also pretty decent, Oh, I've been so broke that I didn't have money for food, and yet on more than one occasion, I have held a check in my hand that had 7 figures, and it had my name on it. I thought when I was 18 that success was this narrow path. It was a narrow path. It didn't have any handrails. I had to be careful. But it was not impossible. It was wide enough, and I was adept enough that I could go on this path, climb up to what I imagined was this plateau of quote-unquote success. That's what I thought. I thought that success was like a destination. Yeah. Success was a destination, like a place, like Poughkeepsie or, Sheffield. People from all around the world are traveling to this town called success. And when they get there, everybody's happy. There's lots of good drugs, lots of pussy. Everything is wonderful and nothing hurts. That's what I thought was success. The funny thing is that, I've been very successful at different times in my life. Very successful, and I've had colossal failures as well. But about the successes, you see, when you succeed, you're blind. Because what happens is that, in order to reach a success, in anything that you desire, you follow a certain path. You plan and you scheme and you think that, if I do this, I'll get to the success that I want. So you follow your plan and you succeed. And what happens is that there's a confirmation bias there, you see? Because you followed a particular path and you got to the success, so you assume that that is the only path to that success, and that you are so bright and brilliant and wonderful and amazing that you figured it out and got there. You don't acknowledge the luck that you had, how luck played into your success, how luck was a determining factor in your success, as a matter of fact. You don't realize that. You certainly don't acknowledge it. You can't believe it. And that's the thing. You only realize this when you fail, even though you did everything right. Even though you did everything right, you fail. And that's happened to me more than once. It's actually happened to me quite a few times. And a couple of times on projects that took a long, long time. And you have no idea the bitterness of having done everything right and still failing. Right? Still failing. And you're like, how? I did everything right. And you go over everything and you give your failure an autopsy. You know, it's not just one autopsy. It's every day, every second of the day. Your mind goes over and over and over your failure. And you try to figure out how it was that you failed. And the thing is, see, that relentless autopsy of your failure, you learn so much there. And you learn a key issue that I have learned. That so much of your life is luck. You're lucky. You get lucky. It's not an answer that people want to hear. They don't want to hear that. You know, oh yeah, you know, I got lucky and scored $1 million. And people say, oh, you're just kidding. And the fact of the matter is, no. You really did get lucky. You just got lucky. It was just, you know, a twist of fate, a happy accident, a few things broke in the right way, in the right direction, your direction. And there you are, sitting pretty on a big success. You worked, sure, of course you worked. You worked and you got lucky and you got the success. But you needed the luck. And you needed the work too. I mean, you have to work in order to accede to that luck, to that good fortune. But the good fortune plays a huge role. And you don't realize it when you're going just up this ladder of success, of relentless success, and on that narrow path. You only realize this when you fail. And see, here's my point. We all want to lead the good life. Western philosophers have been arguing and debating what constitutes a good life. They've been arguing this problem for 3,000 years. It is the central problem of Western philosophy. But you see, in my own experience, what I've discovered is that, see, happiness, the good life, it's not success, and certainly not failure. But it's not succeeding, and it's not failing. It's the space in between the two. See, the contrast between the two. Because see, when I've had colossal failures, I've moved on. I've moved on and tried something else or done something different. And then I've gotten lucky and worked hard, and I stumbled upon another success. And when I stumbled upon that success, the memory of the failure, understanding the lessons of the failure, helped me appreciate the success even more. Helped me taste it in a deeper way. That metaphor doesn't make any sense, but I think that you know what I mean. What I've also realized is that, see, sometimes when you have shattered dreams and they're just lying in pieces all around you, the smart thing to do, and follow my metaphor here, the smart thing is to gather up all these pieces and just throw them up in the air and let them fall and see what shape they turn into. Because sometimes you try one thing and you fail, but in that failure you discover another opportunity, another path, something different, something better sometimes. So what I'm trying to tell you is two things. Number one, don't bet on a single path to success, because that path, whatsoever it may be, you are unlikely to get to it. Because just circumstances, just luck, just fortune, just fate, it'll knock you off that path. But see, you'll fall down the chasm to the bottom of the ravine if you insist on following the one path. But if you allow fate to push you aside and let opportunities draw you in different directions, you're going to find that you find different successes, sometimes unimaginable successes. That's one lesson. And the other lesson is see, don't focus on success, focus on the contrast. See, because when I'm like spending money and having a good time, I think about the times when I didn't have money for food. I think about those times. That oddly enough, I think about those times exclusively when I spend money. Because I think of how lucky I am now and how fortunate I am now that I have some money, when before I didn't. I didn't have money for food. And yet here I am enjoying money, buying something that'll give me pleasure or amusement or what have you. And it's contrasting when I did not have that makes me appreciate what I do have. Okay, I'm gonna go and smoke my cigar. Tomorrow I'm traveling. I'm going to Ukraine. That'll be fun. And yeah. Talk to you soon.